Hi, you guys. Happy Friday. So, today, as you can see on the board, we're going to learn a little bit about Buddhist holidays and traditions. So, we're going to be reading this book here that we didn't get a chance to read while we were still in school in the classroom. But before I read this, I'm actually going to read one of these short stories. So, I've decided we can start off every group time by reading one of these small Zen stories. And Miss Blanchette told me that she read the first one to you guys already. So we will skip that. But we will read, so we'll start with the second story. But before that, I noticed that every story, it kind of begins with a little quote or a saying. So I'll read that. So this one is, "All fear death, all hold life dear. Feel for others as you do for yourself. Remember this and cause no harm." So basically what that means is people care about each other, right? And everyone, I guess, fears death, so they don't want to die, right? But because they fear death, it gives them more appreciation for life, and it makes them realize that they don't want to harm any other living thing. And so in Buddhism, treating everyone and animals and every living thing on this earth with respect and kindness is very, very important to them. So that's basically what that saying or quote means. Okay, so we will read this short story first, which is actually a little long. But this is called The Mustard Seed. Unlike the Buddha, Kisa Gotami grew up very poor. Her family had little food to spare. She often felt weary, hungry, and weak, and so was called Kisa, meaning frail, Gotami. When Kisa Gotami married, she moved into the house of her husband's family, the custom in India at the time. But because she came from a humble background, her new family treated her harshly until the day she gave birth to a child. She was respected now with her new baby boy. Kisa felt proud and happy. Her new son was the light of her life. So that's just a saying for meaning that he was very important to her, like the most important thing. She cherished everything about him, his delightful laughter, his eager brown eyes, his toothless smiles, right, because babies aren't born with teeth. But one terrible, tragic day, the boy was taken by a sudden illness. His death overwhelmed poor Kisa. She bundled him in warm blankets and held him tightly to her chest. Crazed with grief, she stumbled from house to house, begging for medicine that would bring him back to life. But instead of helping, people mocked her madness. "Crazy woman," they jeered. "How can a person be brought back to life?" So basically, Kisa is so devastated and upset and sad, right, that her baby son died. So she's asking people for help, and they're just making fun of her because obviously you can't bring someone back from the dead. Or so they think. We'll see what happens in the story. Hours later, Kisa Gotami stood in the street, wretched and disheartened, so she's very upset. As she wept over her child, a kind man passing by studied her. To himself he said, "This poor woman has lost her mind from sorrow. I think I know how to get her the medicine she seeks." He placed his hands firmly on her shoulders. "Dear woman, please let me help you. The wisest of men, a man named the Buddha, resides at a monastery nearby." So resides just means lives. "I will take you to him, and you can ask his advice. If anyone has medicine for your child, it is he." He led her to the monastery where she found the Buddha teaching at the front of a large group of monks and nuns. From the edge of the crowd she shouted, "Teacher, teacher, my name is Kisa Gotami. I am desperate. Please, my son needs your medicine." The crowd made way for Kisa to reach the Buddha. As she stood before him, he observed the child's lifeless face. "You did well in coming here for medicine, Gotami," the Buddha comforted her. "Here you will find the help you need. But first, before I can save your child, you must do something for me. You must return to the city from which you just came. There, find me a single mustard seed and bring it back." Kisa Gotami's face lit up, for she thought this a simple task in exchange for her son's life. "Most important of all," said the Buddha, "the mustard seed must be from a family in which no one has died. Go now. Make the rounds of the city and ask at every home, bring me back just one mustard seed from such a family. So he's asking her to bring back a mustard seed, which is from a plant, right? It's the seed of a mustard plant, from a family who, where everyone in that family, is still living. No one has died from that family. Thank you, good sir, said Kisa happily. She turned and hurried back to the city. At the very first house, she stopped and knocked at the door. An old woman answered. She easily gave Kisa Gotami a mustard seed. All India used them in cooking. But just as the seed was placed in Kisa's palm, she remembered the Buddha's further instructions. Oh, pardon me. Before I take this, I must ask you, has anyone died in this family recently? The old woman's head lowered. She fell silent. When she raised her face, there were pooled tears in her eyes. I'm sorry to say the answer is yes, replied the old woman. My dear husband died 6 months ago. I am so sorry, said Kisa Gotami. Thank you for your kindness, but I cannot take this seed. A few minutes later, she knocked at the door of a house with children running in and out of the entrance, chasing each other in play. A young woman saw Kisa standing in the doorway and came to greet her. Some of the children stood behind the young woman's skirt to hear what the stranger wanted. Can I help you? She asked Kisa Gotami. I have been sent here to find special medicine for my son. I am looking for a single mustard seed from a household in which no one has died, said Kisa. We cannot help you, I'm sorry. We lost our mother 2 years ago, stated the young woman quietly. For many months I was so unhappy I didn't know how to go on. One of the boys reached up to hold her hand. She clasped his little fingers and continued, but I knew I had to help my father take care of my brothers and sisters. That's what my mother would have wanted. I'm sorry we have no such special mustard seed for you. And so Kisa Gotami continued to the next house, and then to another, asking for the single mustard seed. But always someone had lost a beloved, a brother or a sister, a grandparent, an aunt or a cousin, a mother or a father. The list grew longer and longer. After a time, nightfall came. People snuffed out their oil lamps for the evening. Kisa Gotami sat down, resting against a tree. She gazed down at her son in her arms. Studying him closely, she felt a gradual change in herself. Not a single household she had visited today lived untouched by death's sad hand. Many suffered just as she did now. She was not alone. And somehow, with these thoughts, her grief lightened just a bit, and she returned home. The next day, at first light, Kisa Gotami readied her son for his funeral. Tears streamed down her cheeks as she wrapped him in clean cloth and said farewell. After the funeral, Kisa Gotami went back to the monastery to speak with the Buddha. The Buddha clearly saw on her face that she had come back to her senses. He asked, Gotami, did you bring me a tiny grain of mustard? No, teacher. I am done looking for the mustard seed. I know that in the whole city and the whole world there is not one family, not one person, free from the certainty of death. It is the way of all living things. We must at some time leave one another. And where is your child, dear woman? At last I have said goodbye to him. I felt terribly alone in my grief, but now I know there are many others who have lost what they most cherished. We must help each other, as you have helped me. Kisa Gotami, brought back to her right mind from her search for the mustard seed, became a very wise and compassionate woman. It is said that she never left the Buddha after her return to the monastery, and that from her experience she was able to comfort many, many others in her lifetime. Whew, wow, that's a very sad story, you guys. I was not expecting that. So basically the moral to the story is that you can't bring back anyone who's died, right? If they've passed away, then they're gone. But you're still here, and you can help other people who are sad too, who have lost people as well, right? So basically, that woman going from door to door in her town and seeing that there is literally no household that has not lost someone, she's realizing that she is not alone at all, and that since she is still alive, she needs to comfort other people who have lost people also, right? So it's a very sweet story, although very sad at the same time. So now we will move on to something happier. We'll read a few of these and learn about the Buddhist year, okay? So this is called, and it's not a story, it's just a book. And it is factual information, right? This is, well, these are stories, right? So they may or may not be true. But these stories try and teach a lesson, right? And this book teaches factual information about this religion. Okay, so it's called My Buddhist Year, and it is by Kath Sanker. Okay, so first we will start with a Buddhist life, which is kind of just describing how Buddhists live, which should not be new information for most of you. Buddhists follow the Buddha's teachings. The Buddha was a great holy man. He lived 2,500 years ago, or 2,500. Buddhists follow some simple rules in their lives. They try not to kill or hurt living things. They try not to take anything they haven't been given. They aim to tell the truth and keep a clear mind. They try not to be greedy. So regarding this picture here, it says this is a statue of the Buddha at a temple in Thailand. The Buddha is always shown as calm and peaceful, right? So he's in a very Zen state, where he's very calm. Sorry, I'm having trouble reading this. Oh, there goes my dog. Okay, because I want to make sure you can still see the pictures. It's hard to be able to tell. Okay. The Pali Canon is the oldest collection of Buddhist holy books. It contains the Buddha's teachings. This is Carolina in this picture, outside her Buddhist center. She has written a diary about the Buddhist festivals. So we're going to be reading Carolina's diary pages throughout this book, okay? Carolina's diary, Saturday, July 14th. My name's Carolina and I'm 8 years old. My mom and I used to live in the Buddhist center, but now we live in a big shared house. We've got loads of pets. A dog, 2 chickens, 2 goldfish, and 3 cats. I really love horseback riding, even though I've only done it a couple of times. Oh, and here is the Buddhist symbol. This Buddhist symbol is called the Dharma wheel, or the wheel of Dharma. And we've learned about this symbol. Buddhist festivals. Okay, cool, you guys can see it. Buddhist festivals are joyful times. People enjoy meeting together at a Buddhist center or temple. Everyone thinks about their beliefs and how to become a kinder person. There are many different Buddhist festivals around the world. The most important ones celebrate events in the Buddha's life. Here for this picture, it says, these Buddhist monks in Mongolia are celebrating the opening of a new monastery. So if you remember, a monastery is like a Buddhist church, right? Just like how Christians have churches. If you are Jewish, you go to temple or synagogue. So in Buddhism, you go to monasteries, okay? Some festivals are special to a particular country. For example, Sri Lankans celebrate, and I'm so sorry if I say this wrong, Poson Day. All Buddhists celebrate Wesak or Buddha Day. So in this picture up here, it says, these girls in Sri Lanka are dressed in white for Poson Day. Carolina's diary, Sunday, August 15th. We've just got back from our summer festival. It's my favorite Buddhist festival. It's for 2 weeks every year, and we go camping. At the campsite, there are 2 big trees that I love climbing. I always meet lots of other children there who are Buddhist too. So, let's stop there. Wait, is it going to talk about Poson Day later on? Wondering if I should write this on the board or wait. Oh, yep, it comes up. Okay, we will wait to write more about Poson Day in more detail. Okay. Special days. Every month. So this takes place every month, you guys. Every month, most Buddhists have special religious days. There are often days when there is a full moon. Many Buddhists go to the temple to worship. Buddhist worship is called puja. People chant to show their love for the Buddha. They make offerings of flowers, candles, incense, and pure water at a shrine. People thank the Buddha for his teachings. In this picture, it says, this man is worshiping in the shrine room of his Buddhist center. In this picture on the right page, it says, in Colombo, Sri Lanka, there is a special ceremony on every full moon day. If they don't explain why, I will. I just don't want to repeat myself here. A Buddhist teacher gives a talk and people meditate. They sit quietly and try to become still, relaxed, and peaceful. Carolina's Diary, Sunday, December 29th. Yesterday was Lama Chopa. You say Larma Cherpa. This is a special day that happens every 2 weeks. I went to the children's group at the Buddhist Center. We heard a story about the Buddha and talked about what it meant. We sang prayers. Afterward, we offered vegetarian food to the Buddha. We imagined him eating it. Then we had a feast and ate it ourselves. Okay, they did not explain why, so I will. So I read in one of the Buddhism books that most of the Buddhist holidays, actually in festivals and celebrations and all of that, takes place on a full moon. So it makes sense if they're going to have monthly holidays and celebrations. And that is because Buddha was born on a full moon, or supposedly was born on a full moon. I don't think they know that for certain, right? Because that long ago, things were not written down. It was just by word of mouth. But people believe that Buddha was born on a full moon, and I think he also might have died on a full moon as well. So that's a very important thing for Buddhists. Okay, so now we're going to read New Year, and how long has it been? Okay, this will be the last one, and then we will stop. Okay, New Year. January, February, March, or April. New Year is a good time for making a new start. Buddhists think about how to be more kind and generous to others. They may go to the temple to worship. In Tibet, Buddhists spring clean their homes for a fresh new start to the year. Then there are 3 days of feasting, dancing, and sports. After this, there are more serious ceremonies. So for this picture, it says, in Tibet, prayers written on colored flags are hung up as part of the New Year celebrations, which we learned about, right, guys? I brought some flags into the school, and we hung them on the ceiling. And we began making our own flags, too. There are prayer flags, right? And you write down prayers on them. Or just, happy thoughts, hopes, wishes, dreams. So now this picture, up top on the right. In this village in China, women are taking part in a New Year dance. In China, Sri Lanka, and Thailand, people also hold religious ceremonies. They enjoy special food, traditional games, processions, music, and dancing. Carolina's Diary, Friday, January 3rd. We held a puja on Wednesday to celebrate the New Year. I think of New Year like this. We believe in the power of karma, or actions. If you do kind things, you'll enjoy the results. You'll make the world a better place. For me, New Year is a time for looking at the last year and seeing how I could do better this year. Then I can make a fresh start. So that's pretty much how we view New Year too, right? As a fresh start. A lot of people start going to the gym in January because it was their New Year's resolution to themselves is to exercise more. So a lot of people start things in January, and sometimes they don't make it through the whole year. But it's a really good time to start making yourself do things maybe that you've been putting off. It's a good time for a fresh start, basically. So that's really cool. Okay, next time we're going to read here, and I'm sorry if I say it wrong again, but I think it's Parinirvana, I believe, Parinirvana. So next time we will read about Parinirvana, but we will again begin with the next Zen story. And we will create a list of the traditions and holidays that older students, you guys can write down in your world religions chart in the Buddhist row where it talks about traditions. You could write our list in that little box. So yeah, Bye, guys. See you next time.